What if Darth Maul discovered the spirit of Exar Kun on Yavin 4? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. The jungle moon of Yavin 4 hums with life. Distant calls of strange creatures echo through the humid air, blending with the rustling leaves beneath heavy boots. Ahead, the towering Massassi temple rises from the dense foliage, its weathered stone darkened by centuries of decay. Darth Maul strides toward it with purpose, his sharp crimson features illuminated by the pale glow of moonlight, his yellow eyes alight with sinister hunger. Behind him, Savage Opress follows closely, his hulking form barely squeezing through the narrow temple entrance. The air inside feels thick, stagnant, and alive with an unplaceable energy. The faint red glow of Maul's lightsaber casts shifting shadows across the walls, where ancient Sith carvings whisper stories of conquest and ruin.
This place, it reeks of power.
Maul pauses, running a gloved hand along the cold stone wall.
It should. This is where one of the greatest Sith Lords met his end. And his beginning.
Savage frowns, his brow furrowing inquisitively.
Who?
Maul turns, his gaze piercing.
Exar Kun. A name you should know. He was once a Jedi, like many of the most powerful Sith. But his ambition set him apart. Where others feared the dark side, he embraced it fully, even slaughtering his own master to prove his loyalty to the Shadow.
Savage grunts, his grip tightening on his saber hilt, a feeling of unease creeping into his gut.
He certainly sounds like someone worth remembering. What happened to him?
A thin, humorless smile spreads across Maul's face.
Kun declared himself Dark Lord of the Sith and sought to resurrect the Sith Empire. He mastered techniques others could only dream of. Sith sorcery, alchemy, even the ability to transcend death. The Jedi came for him, of course. They always do. But Kun was no fool. When his empire began to collapse, he enacted a ritual, sacrificing his Massassi followers and binding his spirit to this temple.
As they press deeper into the structure, Savage casts wary glances at the shadows.
So, he's still here? Perhaps. Legends say his spirit lingers, twisting the minds of those foolish enough to seek him out. Some claim his presence can bend even the strongest will.
The oppressive weight of the temple seems to grow heavier. The air cools, and faint whispers begin to brush against the edges of Savage's mind.
And you brought us here to find him? What if this Exar Kun's spirit still hungers for power?
Maul halts abruptly and turns to face his brother, his expression sharp.
Then we will prove ourselves worthy of his legacy, or destroy him if he dares to challenge us.
A faint tremor ripples through the air, and both brothers freeze. The temple seems to breathe, the whispers growing louder, more insistent.
Do you feel that?
Savage rumbles, his yellow eyes narrowing. Maul nods, his grip on his lightsaber tightening.
The Force is strong here. Perhaps Kun himself is watching.
Maul shoots his brother a wicked grin, as if recanting a gruesome tale around a campfire. They press onward, deeper into the labyrinthian halls. The towering statues of Massassi warriors line the walls, their faces grotesque to some, beautiful to others, locked in eternal judgment. At the chamber's center stands a black obelisk, its surface etched with Sith runes that seem to writhe under the flickering light.
This is it,
Maul murmurs, stepping toward the obelisk.
The heart of his power.
Savage hesitates, his weapon humming to life in a crimson flash.
And what now?
Maul places a hand on the cold, smooth stone, his voice low and commanding.
We make ourselves known.
The temple shudders, dust cascading from the ceiling as the whispers coalesce into something stronger, more tangible. Savage takes a step back, his muscles taut.
Maul, something is happening.
Maul smiles, his expression dark with satisfaction.
Good. Let him come.
The shadows deepen, the air turning icy as the whispers form words. A voice, ancient, deep, and commanding.
What is this? Darkness. I feel the darkness in you.
Both brothers turn as the spirit begins to materialize, his spectral form cloaked in shadow and seething malice. The confrontation between Sith, living and dead, has begun. The chamber grows colder as the spectral form solidifies, a swirling shadow of black and blue energy framed by the faint outline of his once living body. His piercing eyes, glowing with ancient malice, fixed on the brothers. They feel the invisible hand of the ghost piercing their bodies and minds, searching for something. Who are these fools? A curious smile cracks the figure's translucent face in realization.
Maul. Savage.
The spirit intones, his voice resonating through the force.
You seek power, yet you stumble blindly into my domain. Have you come to pledge yourselves, or perish?
Maul steps forward, defiance burning in his gaze.
Darth Maul, heir to the Sith legacy, we do not kneel to phantoms.
Exar Kun's laughter reverberates through the chamber, shaking the very walls.
Arrogant. Your ambition amuses me, but your ignorance is unforgivable. Let me teach you the price of such folly.
The obelisk flares with dark energy, and the room explodes with raw force power. Savage is the first to act, charging forward with a roar, his crimson blade slicing through the air. Kun's spirit doesn't move, but the shadows around him coalesce into jagged tendrils of energy that lash out, catching Savage mid-strike and hurling him against the far wall. The impact cracks the stone, and Savage groans as he struggles to rise. Maul leaps into action, spinning his lightsaber in a flurry of strikes aimed at the spectral form. Each swing is met with an invisible barrier, the strikes glancing off harmlessly as Kun's form shimmers with power.
Futile.
Kun growls, raising a hand. A wave of invisible force energy crashes into Maul, sending him skidding across the floor.
You are strong, but strength alone will not save you. The dark side demands submission, and I will have yours.
Savage roars, surging back to his feet. This time, he calls on his rage, letting it fuel his strikes as he charges again. But Kun is ready. His shadowy form suddenly envelops Savage, the dark energy wrapping around the Zabrak like chains. Savage's roars turn to screams as the spirit seeps into him, forcing its way into his mind.
Brother!
Maul shouts, watching helplessly as his brother thrashes, his body convulsing under the weight of Kun's power. The transformation is swift. Savage's movements stop abruptly, and he rises slowly, his yellow eyes now glowing with an eerie blue light. A sizzle can be heard as steam and smoke stream from the giant's forehead, a strange cresting symbol appearing in flesh above his brow. When he speaks, it is not his voice, but Kun's cold and commanding.
This vessel will do nicely.
Kun speaks through Savage, his lips twisting into a cruel grin. He steps toward Maul, towering over his kneeling brother.
You see, Maul, power is not taken by brute force. It is earned through domination, through mastery of the mind and soul. You will learn this, or die.
Maul's hands tremble as he grips his lightsaber. His mind races, but he knows he cannot win against both Kun and Savage.
You will not control me.
He spits, defiance blazing in his voice. Kun laughs, the sound that seems to echo endlessly.
You misunderstand. This is not a choice.
Savage, now entirely under Kun's control, lunges forward, his strength and speed amplified by the spirit within him. Maul blocks the strike, but the sheer force sends him staggering back. Each blow from Savage's weapon is relentless, driving Maul further and further into a corner.
Submit!
Kun's voice booms, emanating from both Savage and the air around them.
Bow before me, and I will grant you power beyond your comprehension.
Maul falls to one knee, his strength failing, his mind teetering on the edge. The oppressive weight of Kun's presence presses down on him like a tidal wave.
I will not.
Kun steps closer, his shadowy form looming over the defeated Sith.
You already have.
He whispers, his voice dripping with satisfaction, is sharp as a dagger in Maul's mind. With a final surge of energy, Kun's spectral hand reaches out, gripping Maul by the head. Maul screams as his mind is flooded with visions of destruction, power, and servitude. The fight leaves him, and his lightsaber clatters to the ground. When Maul looks up, his yellow eyes are dimmed, replaced by the flickering blue glow of submission, the mark of a dark lord smoldering on his forehead. He bows his head, trembling.
What is your will, my master?
Kun smiles, his victory complete. The first of many.
You will rebuild the Sith in my image. You will carry my name, my power, into the galaxy once more. Together, we will make the Jedi tremble.
Maul nods, his voice a hollow whisper.
As you command, Lord Kun.
The temple falls silent, save for the faint hum of dark energy radiating from the obelisk. Outside, the jungle grows quiet, as if the moon itself knows the darkness that has been unleashed once more. Deep within the meditation chambers of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, Master Yoda sits alone, his small form bathed in the golden light of the room. His eyes are closed, his breath steady, but his mind is far away, flowing with the currents of the Force. A sudden jolt of cold ripples through him, sharp and malevolent. Yoda's serene expression falters. His eyes snap open, wide and alert. He leans heavily on his gimmer stick, his breath uneven as the ancient darkness wraps itself around his senses.
Old, this is,
he whispers to himself, his voice a low rasp.
From the shadows of time, returned.
The chamber doors hiss open, and Master Windu enters, his stride purposeful. He halts when he notices Yoda's posture, tense, his normally calm demeanor clouded.
Master Yoda,
Mace says, bowing slightly.
Are you all right?
Yoda straightens slowly, his ears twitching as he composes himself. He taps his stick softly on the floor, his tone measured but distant.
Much on my mind, there is.
Mace steps closer, his gaze scrutinizing.
I can sense it. Something weighs heavily on you. Is there trouble?
Yoda shakes his head slowly, but does not meet Mace's eyes.
Trouble? No. Not yet.
He pauses, choosing his words carefully.
The Force. It stirs. Whispers it does. Of things long past.
Mace frowns, his concern deepening.
What kind of things?
Yoda exhales deeply, his voice quieter still.
Not clear it is. Old wounds. Shadows from another time. Focused I must remain.
He taps his stick again, more firmly this time, as though anchoring himself. Mace watches him for a long moment before nodding.
If you need assistance, you need only have to ask. The Council is ready to act at your word.
Finally, Yoda meets his gaze, his eyes heavy with something close to sorrow.
Appreciate this, I do. But my burden this is. For now, keep watch you must. Many challenges the galaxy faces.
Mace inclines his head.
As you say, Master Yoda.
He hesitates, then adds,
Take care of yourself. As we need your guidance, there is no reason to be hesitant in asking for some yourself, from time to time.
Yoda nods silently, and Mace departs, the sound of his footsteps fading into the stillness of the chamber. Once alone, Yoda lowers his head, the weight of the disturbance pressing heavily upon him. He closes his eyes again, reaching out into the Force. The whispers return, faint but unmistakable. A tremor of power long buried, now stirring.
Much to prepare for, there is.
He murmurs, his voice barely audible.
Much to fear.
The chamber seems to dim, and Yoda falls deeper into meditation, his small frame still and solemn as he braces for the darkness ahead. The wars of the galaxy burn in silence, stars shimmering in the void like indifferent witnesses. In the outer rim, aboard a starship cloaked in shadow, Darth Maul gazes out of the viewport. His once fiery eyes are dulled now, faintly reflecting the blue-tinted glow that lingers from Exar Kun's corruption. Behind him, Savage Opress, his body a vessel for the ancient Sith Lord, stands with an unnatural stillness, his massive form radiating a palpable menace, echoing the cargo in the belly of their ship. When Savage speaks, it is Kun's voice that fills the room, cold and commanding.
This galaxy has grown soft. The Jedi wallow in their complacency, blind to their coming destruction. They will not see us until it is too late.
Maul bows his head, his voice subdued yet shimmering with restrained fury.
Tell me your will, my master. The galaxy will burn if you command it. The Jedi are not my concern yet. The Outer Rim is ripe with chaos. Criminal empires, syndicates, warlords. They will kneel to us or be swept aside. Begin there. Sow fear. Build power. Let the galaxy remember what it means to fear the Sith.
Maul nods, his lips curling into a dark smile.
I know where to begin.
Their ship lands on Nal Hutta, the murky skies thick with pollution. Maul and Savage step into the bustling chaos of the Hutt-controlled planet, their dark robes blending into the shadows. They make their way to the grand palace of Zero's clan, where rival crime bosses gather for a rare summit. Inside, the air is thick with tension, the room filled with Hutt lords, their enforcers, and a smattering of lesser criminals vying for scraps of power. The double doors of the hall creak open, and the room falls silent as Maul and Savage enter. Whispers ripple through the crowd, some recognizing the former Sith assassins, others unnerved by the sheer presence of the two figures. A bloated Hutt adorned in garish jewelry slithers forward, his voice a low rumble.
Who dares interrupt this sacred gathering? Do you know the cost of such disrespect?
Maul steps forward, his expression cold and unyielding.
I am Darth Maul, and this gathering will serve me now.
Laughter erupts from the Hutt and a few of the more brazen criminals.
Serve you? You're bold, but you come to the wrong place. Here, either you deal, or you die.
Maul tilts his head, unamused. He raises a hand and the Hutt's laughter turns to joking gasps as he clutches at his throat. Maul's grip tightens through the Force, and with a flick of his wrist, the Hutt's eyes bulge and his tongue racks back and forth before a wet pop sends his body crashing to the ground, lifeless. Savage steps forward, his towering presence silencing any murmurs of resistance.
My brother does not ask twice.
He growls, his voice deep and resonant. Kun's influence flares within Savage, his eyes briefly glowing. His presence alone fills the room with an unnatural cold, and even the bravest of the enforcers hesitate to act. But one does, raising his blaster to Maul. As his finger pulls the trigger, Savage twists his palm. The aim snaps towards another guard as the muzzle flashes. The second guard falls dead.
You will serve, or you will suffer the same fate as your leader. The Sith have returned, and you will bow.
The remaining Hutts exchange wary glances, their greed and survival instincts wrestling with their fear. One by one, they lower their heads in reluctant submission. Maul smirks, satisfaction gleaming in his gaze.
You are now part of the Shadow Collective. Soon the galaxy will follow.
Zero raises his glass in turn with his fellow Hutts, a bead of sweat dripping down his back. He sees the symbols. He sees the flicker of blue. He sees what the others do not, but he agrees to all terms pressed by the brothers, and retreats to his hideout once the pleasantries have been dispensed.
They'll kill us all. I need help. Desperate times and all that.
He speaks at one of his exotic pets around the room nervously. His weight shifts as he slithers closer to the console, his stubby fingers typing a security code. The holoprojector flickers, and a connection initiates. After a moment, the blue image of Jedi Master Quinlan Vos appears, his arms crossed and his brow furrowed in suspicion.
Zero.
He says flatly, clearly unamused.
I thought I told you our dealings were over.
Zero forces a toothy grin, trying to mask his fear.
Quinlan, my old friend. You look, well, serious as always. But I didn't call for pleasantries. This is urgent. Life and death urgent.
Vos narrows his eyes.
If this is another one of your schemes, you can forget it. The Jedi don't...
It's not a scheme, I'm telling you. The Sith are up to something. And they're here in the Outer Rim, tearing through hot space like a vibroblade through butter. Look.
Zero presses a button, and the hologram shifts to the recording of Maul and Savage. The footage is shaky, but clear enough to show the brothers standing amidst a circle of cowed crime lords. Maul's voice echoes ominously.
The Sith have returned, and you will bow.
The camera zooms briefly on their foreheads, where the glowing marks of the Dark Lords radiate an unnatural pulsing light. The image freezes on that moment. Vos leans forward, his face darkening as he studies the recording.
This is concerning.
Oh, it is.
Zero whines, wringing his stubby hands.
They killed Gola and half his lieutenants without breaking a sweat. I'm next, Quinlan. You know I've had my differences with the Jedi, but I'm begging you. Help me before it's too late.
Vos straightens, his expression unreadable.
Stay where you are, Zero. I'll bring this to the council.
Stay where Quinlan, they're here. They're going to kill me.
Zero protests, but Vos cuts the transmission before he can continue. Left alone, Zero stares at the blank holoprojector, his unease growing. He glances nervously at the blaster by his side and mutters to himself.
Oh, you better hurry, Vos. I don't think they're gonna wait for you.
He picks up one of the many furry creatures in his quarters, petting it furiously. The night sky twinkles in contrast to the constant floating air traffic and city lights outside the Jedi Temple. In the council chamber on Coruscant, the holoprojector casts Quinlan Vos's blue-hued image into the center of the circle as he concludes his report and speculations of his brief meeting with Zero the Hutt.
He provided footage to back up his claims. Both Maul and Opress are marked by branded symbols on their foreheads. Symbols Zero says are unfamiliar to him.
Mace Windu's brow furrows as he leans forward, Vos's image replaced by a projection of the twisted brand on Maul's forehead.
Maul survived his encounter with Kenobi, we know, and has been consolidating power for some time. This could be his next move. But these symbols, that's new. Could be dark sorcery. The Night Sisters, perhaps. Or a ploy.
Kiari Mundi nods thoughtfully.
Zero's desperation is noteworthy. The Hutts rarely seek Jedi help unless they see no other alternatives. Even if this is a scheme, it may not be wise to ignore it.
Shakti tilts her head, considering his words.
If Maul has found a new source of power, it might explain these symbols. We've seen how far his ambition extends. Ignoring this could be a costly mistake.
Zero is terrified. He believes Maul is planning to wipe out anyone who doesn't fall in line, and he thinks he's next. Whatever's happening on Nal Hutta, it's bigger than just a crime syndicate takeover.
The council falls silent as Yoda, seated with his eyes half closed in thought, finally speaks.
Felt this, I have. Darkness stirs. Old and very strong. Not Maul's ambition alone, this is. Deeper it reaches.
Mace Windu exchanges a glance with Kiadi Mundi before turning back to Yoda.
If this disturbance is as grave as you believe, Master Yoda, then let me go. I can take a team to Nal Hutta and confront this threat directly. The Jedi cannot risk losing you.
Yoda opens his eyes, his expression calm but resolute.
Grave this is, yes. And why go? I must. Know this darkness, I do not. But since its origins, I can. Alone I will go. Quinlan Voss will meet me there.
Master Yoda,
Windu begins, but Yoda raises a hand, silencing him gently.
Trust in the Force, you must, Master Windu. Several other disturbances this Shadow Collective have caused. With you, I will leave those to investigate. To Nal Hutta, I will go.
as you wish. But take every precaution. Maul is dangerous enough without this added power. I will assign our best archivists to research the symbol in the meantime.
Yoda rises slowly, leaning on his gimmer stick as he moves toward the exit.
Dangerous he is, but not the only danger, I fear. Prepared we must be for what lies ahead.
The council watches in silence as Yoda departs, his small frame radiating determination, despite the heavy burden of the unknown. The murky atmosphere of Nal Hutta clings to Yoda's starfighter as it descends through the polluted skies. The world below is a sprawling mire of swamps, industrial sprawl, and glittering palaces that reek of opulence and corruption. Yoda's approach is precise, his small figure hugging the shadows of thick rolling clouds to avoid detection. He guides the ship to a secluded stretch of swamp, far from prying eyes and criminal patrols. The fighter touches down silently on a patch of damp, moss-covered ground. Yoda exits the cockpit with fluid grace, his gimmer stick in hand as he surveys the dim, humid surroundings. The faint hum of distant machinery mingles with the chirping of unseen creatures. A figure emerges from the shadows ahead, cloaked in the faint glow of a concealed lantern. Quinlan Voss steps forward, his casual demeanor belied by the tension in his sharp gaze.
Master Yoda?
Voss greets with a slight bow, his voice low.
I trust you weren't followed.
Yoda nods, his ears twitching as he senses their surroundings.
Alone I am, but watched, perhaps. Careful we must be.
Voss gestures toward a narrow path leading deeper into the swamp.
Zero's hideout isn't far. He's paranoid, but I doubt he'll wait long before trying to flee, if he hasn't already.
Yoda's expression darkens slightly, his voice tinged with quiet foreboding.
Paranoia is ally, it may be. A disturbance in the Force, stronger here, I feel. Linger long, we should not.
Together the two Jedi move into the shadows, their forms blending into the oppressive haze of Nal Hutta's unforgiving terrain. Above them, the polluted skies seem to press down, as if the very world is watching. The swamp thickens as Yoda and Quinlan Voss reach Zero's hideout, a discreet palace. Half swallowed by the muck of Nal Hutta, the air is heavy with the stench of decay and stagnant water. The Jedi advance cautiously, their senses heightened as they approach the once heavily guarded compound. Voss glances around, his brow furrowed.
No guards. This place should have sentries at every entrance. Something's wrong.
Yoda taps his gimmer stick softly against the ground, his eyes narrowing with concern as he nods towards the entrance. The two enter the hideout, their movements silent as shadows. The once gaudy halls are eerily quiet, with overturned furniture and broken decor. But the massive bundle of luggage near the exit suggests a hasty departure was in order before whatever happened here. Voss's sharp eyes scan the walls, catching faint blaster marks.
Looks like something came through here. This wasn't just a retreat. It was a massacre.
Yoda pauses, his ears twitching as he closes his eyes. He feels the faint flicker of life somewhere ahead. The Jedi push deeper into the palace, the tension mounting with each step. At last, they reach Zero's opulent sleeping chamber, the blast doors struggling to close with an electric whine. Voss gestures for Yoda to stay back as he moves forward, his lightsaber hilt ready in his hand. Inside the room is a mess of silk cushions and shattered valuables. The air is thick with an acrid, musky odor. In the shadows of the massive bed, something stirs. A faint rustling noise. Voss narrows his eyes.
Zero?
He calls, his voice sharp but quiet. The rustling grows louder. Yoda steps forward, his expression grave. The sound stops. For a moment, there's silence. Then a sudden movement. Something bursts out from the pile of cushions. Voss ignites his lightsaber with a sharp hiss, its green glow illuminating the chamber. But it's not Zero. A small, brightly colored swamp lizard scurries away, its bulbous eyes darting nervously as it vanishes into a crack in the wall. Voss exhales, lowering his blade.
One of Zero's pets. That slug has a thing for exotic creatures.
Yoda, however, does not relax. He steps closer to the bed, his gaze fixed on the lump beneath the tangled sheets. He lifts a hand, and the sheet pulls back with the force to reveal Zero's lifeless body. The Hutt's eyes are wide with terror, his skin pallid. Voss grimaces.
We're too late. Looks like he's been here for days. Must have happened just after he contacted me.
Yoda leans in, studying the body with a frown.
Fear his final moment was. Terror. Marked by the dark side, this is.
A chilling voice echoes through the chamber, cutting through the heavy air.
As you all will be.
Maul growls, his eyes flickering with blue malice. Voss steps protectively in front of Yoda, his lightsaber igniting in a flash of green.
We were hoping for Kenobi, or Skywalker. But the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, that is something.
Maul.
This ends here.
Yoda studies the mark on the Zaprak's forehead, the glow in his eyes, realization dawning on him.
Not Maul, this is.
Maul's grin twists into a snarl as he lunges forward. The chamber erupts into chaos as Maul and Voss exchange a furious flurry of strikes. Yoda watches briefly, his sharp gaze reading Maul's movements. Then, with a gesture of his hand, Maul unleashes a sudden, powerful force push. Voss is hurled backward through the stained glass window, glass shattering around him as he plummets into the murky swamp below. He lands with a splash, his senses on high alert as he springs to his feet. The thick, swampy air clings to him as he scans the area, lightsaber at the ready. The sloppy sound of approaching footsteps draws his attention. From the shadows of the swamp, Savage Opress steps forward, his eyes glowing eerily in the dim light. A squad of armored fighters from the Shadow Collective fans out behind him, their weapons drawn. Savage, his voice low and cold, speaks with a tone that is not entirely his own, the mark on his forehead pulsing like a heartbeat.
You are strong, Quinlan Voss. Zero's mind revealed as much. Let us see if you are worthy of the challenge.
Voss tightens his grip on his saber.
Opress, what has your brother dragged you into this time? Who's pulling your strings now?
Savage does not answer, merely gesturing forward with a clenched hand. The Shadow Collective fighters attack in unison, their movements disciplined and precise. Voss springs into action, deflecting blaster fire with expert precision as he weaves through the swampy terrain. He cuts down the first attacker with a swift stroke, dodging another's vibroblade as it slices through the air. The Jedi's agility and skill outmatch the fighters, but their sheer numbers force him to stay on the defensive. One by one, the fighters fall to Voss's relentless strikes, their attacks unable to break through his guard. As the last soldier crumples to the ground, Voss turns to face Savage. His breathing steady, but his eyes wary. Savage, still standing in the same spot, claps slowly, his massive hands echoing in the swampy stillness.
Impressive, but they were just an appetizer. Now you face me.
The two clash with a thunderous roar, Savage's brute strength meeting Voss's speed and precision. The swamp churns around them as they fight, each strike sending shockwaves through the water. Meanwhile, back in Zero's chambers, Yoda and Maul circle one another. The tension in the room is palpable as Maul spins his saber staff, its twin blades humming with lethal energy.
Consumed by rage you are.
Yoda says calmly, his lightsaber igniting with a steady hum as he drops his gimmer stick.
Blinded by it too. Corrupted you have been, more than before. Drowning in darkness you are.
Maul snarls and leaps at Yoda, his attacks relentless and wild. Yoda meets him with a series of quick, precise parries, his small frame a blur of movement. Despite Maul's ferocity, Yoda remains unshaken, his mastery of the Force evident in every step.
You will kneel before him.
Maul growls, his strikes growing more desperate, tears forming in his flickering blue eyes.
Your time is over, Jedi.
Yoda's expression remains calm, even as the room quakes from their battle. He sees something within Maul is brewing, a storm of conflict, as if he is fighting a second unseen battle deep within. The chamber shakes under the weight of their duel, while outside, Voss and Savage's battle rages on in the swamp, the clash of light and dark resonating through the force-charged air of Nal Hutta. Savage towers above the murky water, his eyes blazing with an unnatural light. The Zabrak's shoulders rise and fall as he glares at Quinlan Voss, who stands amid the fallen bodies of the Shadow Collective fighters.
You are strong, but strength alone will not save you. You've already lost.
Voss steadies his breathing, his green lightsaber humming in his hand.
You talk too much for a ghost. Let Savage go. Fight me yourself.
Kun's laughter erupts through Savage, chilling and malevolent.
You are wise, Voss, to see through my charade. Not much of a charade when you burn a signature into your victims' foreheads. This one is but a vessel, a tool, his brother, a beast on a leash. But you will serve me.
With blinding speed, Savage surges forward, his crimson saber arcing toward Voss in a brutal strike. Voss sidesteps, their blades clashing in a shower of sparks. Each blow sends ripples through the swamp, the water churning with the ferocity of their battle. Despite Savage's overwhelming strength, Voss uses his agility to stay one step ahead, parrying and dodging with precise movements. But as the fight drags on, Savage's attacks grow more relentless, his strikes fueled by the dark side of Exar Kun. Finally, Savage catches Voss off guard, swatting aside his lightsaber and grabbing him by the face with a massive clawed hand. Lifting the Jedi off the ground, Savage tightens his grip as Kun's voice echoes through the swamp.
Such strength, Quinlan Voss, but you cannot resist the power of Exar Kun. You will kneel.
Voss struggles, his hands clawing at Savage's arm, as a frigid burn creeps into his mind. With a desperate burst of strength, he reaches out to the mud, summoning his lightsaber back to his hand. Igniting the blade, he severs Savage's arm at the elbow. He lands with a spin, continuing the strike, driving the saber into the armored chest of his opponent. The Zabrak howls in agony, crested by the rage of the spirit within, his grip faltering as his saber drops to the mud. Savage staggers backward, clutching at his heart, the eerie glow in his eyes fading. His body trembles, and for a moment, his true voice returns.
Forgive me, brother.
Savage's breath leaves him before collapsing face first into the swamp, lifeless. Voss stands over the fallen warrior, breathing heavily. But as the eerie silence returns, a faint whisper brushes against his mind, a sensation that sends a chill down his spine. Shaking it off, he looks toward Zero's chambers and moves to rejoin Yoda. Maul's twin-bladed saber staff flashes in a storm of red, each strike aimed to overwhelm Yoda. The Jedi Master moves with practiced precision, parrying the attacks with his emerald blade. Maul snarls, his voice raw with fury.
This Sith will rise again, and you will be nothing but a memory.
Beneath his words, there is a subtle hesitation in his movements, a flicker of doubt. Maul's face twitches, his strikes growing less precise. A voice reverberates in his mind, ancient and commanding.
Kill him, dog. Obey me.
Maul growls, shaking his head as if to clear it. His crimson blades falter mid-swing. Yoda pauses, his sharp eyes narrowing as he senses the struggle within.
Control you, someone does. Resist it, you must.
I am no one's pawn.
Maul screams, his voice a mix of defiance and despair. But the dark presence of Exar Kun presses harder, forcing Maul's body to lunge forward with renewed aggression. Suddenly, Maul freezes, his eyes widening as he feels a disturbance through the Force, his eyes darting to the shattered stained glass window. The death of Savage Opress ripples across the dark connection between them, momentarily severing Kun's influence. For the briefest moment, Maul's himself again. His red-rimmed eyes meet Yoda's, filled with a strange mixture of anger and anguish as the tears return. His brother is dead. Before Maul can respond, Kun's voice roars back into his mind, drowning out all thought. His body stiffens, his grip tightening on his weapon as he struggles to fight the ancient Sith's control, letting out an agonizing scream of despair.
Brother!
Sensing his opportunity, Yoda extends a hand. His gimmer stick, discarded earlier, flies through the air and strikes Maul sharply in the back of the head. The Zabrak stumbles forward, his eyes clear, but rolling back, his saber deactivating as he collapses to the floor, unconscious. Yoda steps closer, his expression heavy with contemplation, his cane floating back into his grip.
Such fear. But deeper still, this darkness runs.
Voss enters the chamber a moment later, his clothing soaked with mud and torn from battle. He glances at Maul, then at Yoda.
Savage is dead. Whatever was controlling him, it's gone now. I made sure of it.
Yoda turns to study Voss, his expression thoughtful.
Gone, you say? Certain, are you?
Voss nods, his face stern as he places a concerned glance on Maul's body.
Is he...
Alive. Though dangerous still, he is. To Coruscant, take him, will we?
Voss steps closer, kneeling, his voice calm but edged with curiosity.
That presence... it was powerful.
Yoda places a hand on Voss's shoulder, his expression reassuring but cautious.
Wary we must be. Shadows linger where light fades. And in Maul, this darkness still lingers.
As the two prepare to leave, Voss remains for a moment, glancing back at the unconscious Maul. Unseen by Yoda, a flicker passes through Voss's eyes, a brief but unmistakable blue glow, as he retrieves the fallen assassin's lightsaber. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.